Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. We're back in the Ferrari 296 GT3, this time at Hockenheimring GP edition for yet another track guide. Great news, as always in these cars, Gianni Lutzu's behind the wheel. If you don't know who he is, 10.5k iRating, he's a real-life racing driver, and he's a full-time driver coach. And if you want to try and improve yourself like I did originally when I started seeing him, then there is a link in the description, lutzudriverperformance.com. And we've also listened to you guys. We have started producing setups. So these are the setups that Gianni actually curates for himself when he's racing the GT3s. And they are now available on our Patreon. So if you want to check them out, there is a link for that in the description. We sell them at $3 each, and because we've just started out. However, for $12, you can get the Porsche and the Ferrari every single week, and we will be adding more and more to that. So you'll have access to everything that we produce for the $12 amount. Anyway, let's start the hot lap. Right, let's start the hot lap. So turn one, just after the 50, sharp trail off down to fourth, back on the gas. As I mentioned, if you do want to drive this Gianni Lutzu driver performance curated setup, we do now offer them on our Patreon, and there is a link in the description. $3 for a one-off or $12 a month for everything we produce, the GT3s and 4s. Right, over to the left-hand side, looking for the start, the curbing on the brakes up to about 75%, really hold it there, wipe the speed off, down to first gear, trail it off, exit nice and wide. And we're going to go flat here through turn 7. Head back over to the right-hand side on the brakes, trailing it off down to second gear, back on the gas. Porsche was actually just slightly faster around here. Right, a few tricky little turns. On the brakes, down to third gear, cutting the corner, exit nice and wide, very lenient there. Just before the 50, we're on the brakes up to about 70%. Again, longest trail off down to second gear, smoothly back on the gas. Now we're on the brakes up to about 40%, long trail off down to second gear, don't quite hit maximum. We've got to really feather that throttle, exit nice and wide, and over and across the line he goes in a 1:36.6. Right, we have the breakdown lap coming up next. Now, on the breakdown lap, so our first braking marker is going to be just before the 100 here, or just before the start of the curbing if you prefer that. Get on the brakes, up to about 60%, sharp trail off, back on the gas, full beans at the apex in fourth gear. You can exit really wide here, nice and lenient. Next time, we're looking midway between the 150 and the 100. And again, holding the brakes up at around 70%, down to second gear, getting back on the gas at the apex. And we can go flat, and now we're flat all the way through Parabolica. Don't know why the track map has such a hard time here in the replay. That's worked out where we are. Right, now we're going to be braking. You can either again use the 150 or the start of the curbing on the left-hand side. And we go on the brakes again, holding it at around 75% all the way until we start turning in. Already down to first gear, trailing it off, picking back up the gas on the apex. Absolutely flat through turn 7. Trailing it off down to second gear. Back on the gas, just to lift it through here. And we can exit, as you see, nice and wide. Our braking marker here is the start of that shadow. I guess nice and wide. Final braking is just as we leave that curbing on the right hand side, and you're on the brakes up to about 40% and then back on the gas. And now you're just feathering it through the final corner. And over and across he goes. In a 1:36.6. Got one final version coming up next with the driving line on without me talking. Enjoy.